thank you, AJ. Well, as we approach Inauguration Day, our friends from the Herbert Hoover, that's a tongue twister, Presidential Library Museum are back. We have a couple of segments with the Library Museum, and joining us today with some unique artifacts from Hoover's inauguration is Library and Museum Director Tom Schwartz, Audiovisual Archivist Lynn Smith, and Museum Curator Marcus Eckhart. Welcome. Thank you so much for being here.
Well, thank you for having us.
These are so cool, and it's so cool that you have some video from his, which is almost 100 years old now. Yes.
Yeah.
So what made Hoover's inauguration unique?
Well, for one thing, it was a continuation. All of them had been on the east front of the Capitol. Hoover's was the first one that was broadcast live, that people could hear it on trains. There wasn't television yet, but it was broadcast that you could hear it on a train. I don't know if there's car radios, but plenty of people had radios in their homes. We have newsreel footage that people would see later on at the movie theaters and things like that. So this footage here, you see President Coolidge, outgoing president, and Herbert Hoover riding to the inaugural from the Capitol. As tradition, the incoming president meets at the White House and they drive together to go to the White House, and then he took his oath of office and did followed that was the national anthem and then his inaugural address.
And it's amazing that this footage is almost 100 years old and it's preserved, so we have that.
Right. These are newsreel segments that we have. I think that in this case the sound is muted, but we do have some that actually have sound film. We unfortunately don't have the entire run of his entire inaugural address, just segments here and there. But
is that just because of archive? Yeah.
Right. Part of it just didn't survive. It might not have been recorded in the first place. I wasn't there. I don't know.
Right. Yeah. That's right. I know that was something that was
I wish I was there that day. Like, no, save it. Record the whole thing, please, please.
Right.
I'm from the future. Let me tell you.
And then you just have some great pictures and artifacts here that you preserve that are these are on display at the museum.
Some of them are.
This one is in the cane. The photos, these are all panorama photos that were taken within weeks of the election. Some boosters, Hoover fans from West Branch, arranged a chartered train that started in Des Moines, picked up people in Des Moines, Cedar Rapids, Iowa City, West Branch, and they continued on to Washington, D.C. And they were all given a matching cane and a little ID pin that identifies them with this group. It was the Hoover Birthplace Special. So the sign you hear, the image you see of Hoover's head.
I don't want to touch anything. No touching.
So if you look at this, the photo here with the train, and these were taken in Washington, D.C. after they arrived.
Right.
This train was. So this photo was, excuse me.
This image right here of the
on that there?
head is that.
Is this. And
maybe not the exact one, but there were several of them in the multiple train cars. They had about 275 people, and one of the
12
first
train cars,
something like that. One of the first people they invited on this was Governor John Hamill and his wife Fanny, and they, within a day of receiving the letter, accepted the invitation. He said, "I'm already going to go. I'd be happy to join your group," rather than going separately. They invited the University of Iowa band, but finances were, disallowed them from travel, so they pivoted to the co-college ROTC band, and that's this photo here of the band and some other people with Governor Hamill and President Hoover in front of the White House.
And the West Wing there.
In the West Wing.
Yes. Oh, wow.
And I'm pretty sure, it's kind of, we were looking at this photo yesterday, and I think the people behind the band are the same people from
from West Branch.
The West Branch crew. Okay.
Yeah, because the center picture is just the West Branch people of that 275 group. And they were there for a few days. They did some sightseeing, visited Library of Congress, some of the Smithsonian's, went to Arlington National Cemetery. We have a journal that was written by a 19-year-old gal that was in the train as a teenager.
Oh, wow.
And we received that as a donation several years later of her reminiscences of riding the train and going to these museums and looking at old, hats. And they went to some haberdashery and they were playing around with hats and just had a jolly good time.
Oh, absolutely. So this is just incredible that it all survived. And the panoramic, I didn't know that that existed back then, a panoramic.
Yeah,
Oh, yeah.
it would have been done on a, like on a rail or a pivoting.
Yeah.
Because in this one, you can kind of see where it's
Yeah, the perspective
wider
changes.
at the,
Yeah.
it's more at the top than at the bottom. So like,
Okay.
like a cell phone
Yeah.
today, you can do a panorama, and when you look at it,
Right.
it's got that funky arc
Yeah.
in the center.
Okay.
So-
Now, oh, I'm sorry, go ahead.
So when you look
Yeah.
at this, the photo here of them at the train, what you see is most of them have a cane. They were given canes when they got on the trains.
So I don't want to,
So-
I'm scared to touch
so-
anything.
Yeah, you're
So
okay.
this one, yes.
And then, so the cane, that's what this cane is. And these were all individually made. If you look on the end here, I don't know if you can see that very well, but it does say Iowa right there, IOWA. So these were specifically for this group, and it was one way, like sometimes if you travel, you see people with like an umbrella so
Yeah.
they can follow it. These guys all had the canes. So you can see, so it's kind of funny
Yeah.
to see them all lined up there
That
with the
is
canes.
just incredible.
Also, if you look, it's hard to see in these here, but you see that there's like little pins that they're wearing.
Yeah.
That's what, here, I'll have to slide around here to get a better look at that, because this little pin here, which we did not have one of these until this year. Somebody donated this to us within the last 6 months. So, but it's, West Branch, Hoover's birthplace, Iowa, little corn stalk, and that was something
cool.
that they would also wear to identify themselves as
Nice.
well. So it's kind of fun that way.
That is fun. Now I want to ask, we have about 30 seconds here. We want to catch, his inauguration was actually not in January, correct?
Right, it was
Yes.
March 4th.
Yeah.
Hoover's inaugural was the next to last. When he departed was the final inauguration that happened on March 4th. It was moved because of the problems with the economy. It was decided in 32 and 33, it was voted by Congress to change the inaugural up to January 20th. So there wasn't so much lag time and questions about, well, the election was in November, it's now March, and you're still here. And, FDR was chomping at the bit to get involved and jump ahead and get things moving. I'm in
So-
charge now, go away.
All right, so you stay here because we're going to catch up on the renovations going on at the museum and library. We can talk a little more about this as well, okay? And you stay there right there.